Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA Finley.
More importantly, he is an expert in immigration, and he's going to be talking about all the changes because of this coronavirus. So welcome to our show, Chandler.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Citizens can vote in November, and people trying to get their green cards and work permits. And then we have a whole nother bunch of people that are tourists that are stuck here, and then people trying to leave the country, and they're stuck and can't leave.
And so, so what are people hoping to get from you?
Well, they're hoping to get answers. We have a lot of cases that were already in the process. Immigration offices early in March suspended all their in-person interviews, meetings until May 3rd, which is, I guess, coming up. And so that means no interviews. People who are trying to get their U.S. citizenship from being residents for 5 years, all those interviews have been postponed, and hopefully they'll all be rescheduled. People applying applications for green cards, all that kind of stuff. The immigration is actually still working in their offices, although a little slower. They're taking applications. We are still mailing applications to immigration. They're still taking the money and sending us back receipts and processing the cases, but they're just holding off on any interviews in the U.S. And on some other things like people that are here as tourists, a lot of tourists that got caught here, a lot of tourists come on a special visa called an ESTA, which is a 90-day visa. Some tourists come on a 6-month tourist visa. It's a little different. But a lot of Europeans and first world countries that like to visit the U.S., they all have this what's called 90-day visa, where they can come and spend time for 90 days. And they got stuck here because there's no flights. For instance, back to Europe, there's very, very little flights. If you're Italian, you can't even go back to Italy. And what happens with them is that they don't want to overstay their status. Okay. And so they're having to either file applications to get extensions, or they have to actually, like in Miami, it's a little crazy down here in Miami. Immigration is actually requiring people to come in physically to the airport special immigration office to request an extension of their 90-day visa.
But that's dangerous, isn't it, for older people?
Of course, that's right. And in one case, we have an 88-year-old grandmother who was here visiting her relatives for the season, and she's stuck. Her time's expiring, and they're having to take her to immigration. What they decided to do, they're going to take her and leave her in the car and go inside immigration. If immigration really wants to see her, they can. But because her only option was to take a flight back to Italy, where they had four stops, where she'd have to change plane, and 4 times before she could get to Italy. And
then when she gets there, she'll probably have to be quarantined, right?
Exactly. She'd have to be quarantined, and then she has to stay in her apartment and everything in Italy. And Italy is different. They don't have these types of services we have. They don't have a Publix. It's like in South Florida, or where you can order food and they deliver it to you. They don't have that in Italy. It's very tough. In Italy, they have a lot of little, grocery stores, and it all has to be done on a much smaller scale. So it's harder to survive in Italy a little bit. As an example, anyway, a lot of other European countries are like that. So she's going to have to, physically go to immigration, get a 30-day extension, and we hope the 30 days will be enough. Maybe they'll open the restrictions and they'll do something, but she again may have to go back and get an extension again. She can't. I mean, her son certainly can't go with her back to Italy on this long trip back to Italy, even then. So she's going to have to stay a little longer with this trouble. And then we have other cases where when the travel restrictions started back in even February and March, a lot of people got separated. We had people who were, the travel restrictions only allow citizens and green card holders, people with green cards, to come back to the United States. But there's a lot of people here with travel visas. Travel visas are, those like they have a work visa where they're working here as a professional in a company, engineers and doctors, things like that. But maybe they were in Europe or Italy and their family was here. And we have a case where someone's actually separated, where the doctor's doing work in Italy and he separated. His family is stuck here in Florida. And they, of course, are quarantined both sides of the world, and they can only call each other, and they have to wait until the travel restrictions. And then because he has a work permit, so he wasn't allowed to come in with his work permit. And his wife and child, they were afraid to leave because then they would be able to come back, and they're basically living in the U.S. for a while. They haven't been living outside. He was only there for a temporary time. So
this is very tough on you because they want answers and you don't know what to tell them, right? Well, you can't.
That's right, exactly. A lot of times if people were here, we would be able to tell them, well, go to Mexico, get your visa, go to Canada, get your visa. But now even those countries you can't go to and come back without being quarantined, or Mexico and Canada are not letting Americans go there because they have their own travel restrictions since America has a high volume of coronavirus cases.
Well, let me tell you something that I was just on the phone with someone whom you know, and that's Neil Myers, and he, of course, lives in Monaco most of the year, and then he lives in Florida, and his wife was here with him. A day before they closed everything, she went home, and then he has not been able to get home, and he's been trying to reach. They're very strict in Monaco. He was going to go to Italy. He can't cross the border. He was going to go anywhere he could. He is stuck here, just like you were saying, and he's now talking to the embassy, the ambassador in Monaco, and it's still, they can't do anything right now. So I think April, maybe May the 13th, they're going to have something else to tell him. Isn't that interesting?
Right. Yeah, that's right. And all the foreign consulates and embassies are all trying to work with everybody as best they can. But with the travel restrictions, there's really not much they can do. Even with the Americans that were stuck all around the world in Chile and Honduras and even places like that, the U.S. had to send a military plane down there to pick them up, and the country wouldn't even let them go because they knew that they were being tested or being having to be tested with the coronavirus. And America was bringing them back. Same problem, obviously, for the cruise ships. All the cruise ships are now docked in Miami. They're not going anywhere. They've all been ordered to stay in port or stay where they are. All the people that are on the cruise ships, a lot of them were foreigners. If they got off the cruise ships and they were, tested, they had processing in Broward County to test everybody when they got off or they took them to another area. Now even though they're back off the ship, they're stuck here. They can't leave. They can't.
So wait, I was going to ask you, are we talking about the employees now? Or the employees on the ships?
Yeah, both. You have all the guests on the ship, passengers, and then you have all the employees. I mean, there's 6,000. It's amazing. The ships are so big today. They might have 6,000 people on the ship and 4,000 passengers and 2,000 employees. So those employees are either staying on the ship or they're getting off the ship. And with the immigration again, they're only allowed off the ship for 29 days. They can't get off the ship for more than that. And the the cruise lines are having to, of course, house them all somewhere. They have to put them up because usually they would get back on the ship and go out again and not stay here. So it's a huge dilemma for everybody. Everyone, of course, is on the stay and home order and everything like that. But these people come on the ships; they don't have a home here. Their home is the ship. They can't stay out there, and they're all getting off.
Well, you're very busy, and I want to give your phone number. I'm going to give, for anybody listening, even if you can't get away this moment, you ought to get prepared so when you can go. So I'm going to give you Chandler Finley, and his wife is his partner, Stefania Bologna. They are very big experts in immigration. They're with the Wilson Elser law firm. And I'm going to give you the Miami phone number. Get your pencils out. Remember, this is Pencil Talk Radio. It's 305-374-4400. 305-374-4400. Is that a good number, Chandler, for people to call?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a good number, sure.
Okay, so that's what...
Yeah. And I was just thinking for your audience, a lot of people, there are a lot of workers, healthcare workers, in all of the, hospitals, living facilities, nursing homes, and even in people's private homes. A lot of times they have work permits. The work permits are, if they're expiring, they have to, like I said, immigration is still working. They have to file the forms. Immigration normally asks those people to come in to have their fingerprints done. But in this case, if they have their fingerprints done before, they're waiving the fingerprint so they can go ahead and renew the work permits. They're still taking, up to 3 months to renew their work permits. So those people have to make sure they file their paperwork well in advance.
That's a good point. Let me give that phone number again. It's 305-374-4400. So don't get caught, because right now we have such big concerns about the virus. But once they relax some of it, it's not going to be perfect. For those of you who do need to be okay with the immigration services, Chandler and Stefania are experts at this, and they will help you. If they can't help you, they'll tell you. That's good, Chandler. Thank you very much. And I'm sad to hear that people are making the people go down to Miami and get out, especially that elder person. But I know you have a lot of other instances that you wanted to talk about, too, with immigration. And in fact, I was thinking, since you handle a lot of the polo players out in Wellington, what's happening there?
Well, of course, like all the other sports happen, they cancel all the sports games, like the basketball and baseball and all those things in America. Same thing happened there. They had all the polo events and all the equestrian events at the Winter Equestrian Festival, which is the biggest event from January through April. It was all canceled. Everybody, they had the polo teams were already playing in January and February, and everyone was canceled. The whole equestrian competitions were canceled. Everybody, of course, were going home. And again, everyone was leaving as fast as they could to go home wherever they live. But a lot of people were stuck here. For instance, all the horse trainers and the grooms that take care of the 25 horses that they bring in for the show, they couldn't leave so fast because you can't just put all the horses on a plane and take off, really. You have to plan it and quarantine the horses and all those kind of things. And so a lot of them are stuck here having to take care of the horses on farms until the end of this virus, and then they're going to have to leave and go. The competition basically is over this year. They don't know if they'll be able to reschedule it. It may just schedule it for the summertime. But right now, they're still working on that. It's very difficult to make all those plans and change like that. I even have one equestrian jumper on the equestrian horses that jump over the fences and things. He qualified for the Olympics in Japan, which is supposed to be in the summertime. But now Japan has even said that they may be postponing the Olympics because of the problem that everyone is scheduling everything to go to the Olympics. They practiced for 4 years, and now they may not be able to do that. And hopefully Japan will be able to reschedule only 1 year and not be, missing the whole Olympics this year.
Wow, this is, it's interesting that we are also nervous about the virus. That's like I'm in my house, and I know you are home with your children, and but when it comes to business, going to be a lot of people having to make lots of new arrangements. And I mean, I even have someone who usually advertises he's a tribute artist for Elvis Presley, and he just sent us a note that, well, of course, he had to cancel his appearances And now he's thinking of doing some online. You know, I don't know, they have all these new ideas. And so you may have to come up with some new ideas online. Maybe people are going to send you their documents online that you can see them. Not just, they can always send it to you, but maybe face to face. Do you need to see people face to face when you're working with them?
Yeah, sometimes it's good. We're doing some FaceTime with some people now overseas, but most of it is documentation, getting the packages together, information for the forms to complete, things like that. We have another interesting case is we have, for instance, a very popular haircut salon here in Miami, and it's most of our famous hairstylists from Europe. And they're stuck here. Of course, they can't cut hair. The shop is closed. But one of the things they're doing very interesting is they're doing online seminar for their clients on how to trim their hair themselves and just keep good looking until they can, reopen the shop in another month.
Oh, that's really good. Oh my gosh.
Something like that is pretty
wow.
funny.
Yeah, you may want to find out. I guess you don't know how people can get to see that. What's the name of the shop?
The shop is called Contesta Rock Hair. It's in Miami, Buena Vista, Miami. Huh. And they also have a shop in New York as well.
Wow.
And,
so they're helping. Well, now, that's amazing,
right.
Chandler.
Yeah, there's lots of things like that going on. We also have some major companies, some big, oil engineering companies and computer and machine companies that they can't transfer their employees, where they send them around the world all the time. In fact, they had employees in China and in Singapore they were bringing to the U.S., and of course they couldn't bring them here to fix some machines and things like that. They were here in the U.S., and so even the machines at the factories now, if they can't repair and service them, then they can't run them until the people come to fix the machines. That's, an issue for keeping the employees also going in the U.S.
I was thinking about that because even if I had problems with my computer and I needed someone to come, I'm not going to get it. I'm not allowed to have anybody even come into the building.
Right. Those are issues as well. That's right. Now, one of the things I had discussed before on one of our programs was the children that were brought here under 15 that were called DACA. Basically, it's called Deferred Action Childhood Arrivals. Those are people that came when they were under 15 years of age, who came in with their parents, basically from and to keep them from being deported because they're now out of status or illegal. That was an Obama executive order. Those things are still, pending. The Supreme Court made a decision, the Supreme Court heard the case last fall, and they haven't made a decision yet. And that decision will probably come out they're saying now, probably in June this summer. Those are, 200,000 children who are now older. Maybe they're up to 30 years old now, but they came in when they were 15. And they're now out of status, and those are called the DACA recipients. There may be a decision on that, coming in June. Now, that's, of course, regular processing. For instance, like I said, the federal government is still working. So the Supreme Court is still working, and theoretically they will have decisions coming up on these kinds of cases. Although it's a little slower there.
Yeah, I think you did say before that people in DACA ought to be trying to get their green cards.
That's right. Well, of course, those things have slowed down now, of course, because of this virus situation. Whatever they were trying to apply for to get, going, they now have to wait a little more time before they have an interview or before they can, they can still file paperwork. But I think the paperwork is going to be a little slower in getting done. The immigration is still processing cases, but again, immigration are people too at their offices, so they must be having their own issues. A lot of people can't show up for work or whatever it might be. But generally, we see that they are, processing and keeping up as best they can.
This is really amazing. And so are you working from your office part-time, or how are you? Are all lawyers then?
Right. Well, I mean, the courts have. It's interesting. Most of the state courts have canceled all their appointments, all their hearings, but they have scheduled some things on video conferencing. Anything they can do by video with just the attorneys with motions, or some conferencing they can do with motions. The federal courts are still open for business because they do a lot of for instance, criminal cases. If someone's arrested, they're required to have certain rights to an attorney, certain rights to post bond and see a judge within 24, 48 hours. So those criminal courts are still open, and they're doing everything by video. Also, a public defender, everyone is on video, like a video screen with 4 or 5 different pictures. Everybody's talking and trying to still. So those things are still going on, if you can imagine. Most things have been postponed or canceled and been rescheduled. The lawyers are, a lot of lawyers, if they, except for meeting their clients in the office, we can do everything by email, and all court documents are all electronically filed these days. So that makes it quite easy to keep paperwork going. You just can't meet with people, that's all. It's very difficult in that sense.
And so the immigration, you said there's still people working in immigration, so they're still processing things.
Yes, that's right. They're still processing things, but they won't schedule an interview. So, for instance, if someone's applying to become a U.S. citizen, they've been a permanent resident for more than 5 years, and they apply for citizenship, immigration is taking their paperwork, and they'll get a receipt, they take their money, and they will process the application. But they won't send out a fingerprint appointment notice because the fingerprint appointment office is not taking appointments, not seeing anybody do their fingerprints at this time. And then they won't have an interview scheduled. They were actually rushing naturalization cases this year because it's an election year. A lot of people were going to get their citizenship done before August so they could register to vote. So hopefully this summer is going to be a rush of citizenship cases so people can get their citizenship that they want to vote or not. But they'll have to reschedule all those appointments. If you think about every office, all the officers, there's probably maybe 50 to 100 appointments every week for citizenship, and those are all being postponed and backed up.
And that's in Miami. Can you imagine across the country?
Across the country, right. I mean, there's 4 immigration service centers in the Tri-County area from Miami to Palm Beach. So there's a lot of offices here.
Well, and something I should say is that under normal circumstances, Chandler has another office in Wellington. And because of the polo players, he has a lot of clients out there. So if you are listening and it's not convenient at this time anyway to go to Miami, he will set up once everything's back to normal, I suppose, right? You're going to be back at Wellington?
Right. Yes, I'll be going back to Wellington again, yes.
But let's just keep that one number if that's easier for everybody, the
Sure.
305-374-4400, and that way you can get in touch. Well, there might be some other issues which you have and which Chandler hasn't covered, so if you give him a call, you can ask him anything. There's no charge for calling, and he'll be glad to help you and see what he can do. And I just know that there are a lot of issues that Chandler hasn't told me people's names, but he has really been able to get people passports and visas and things when a lot of other lawyers can't. Chandler's been doing this. Have you been doing this for 30 years? How long have you been practicing this law?
Since 1988. So
okay,
more than
a long
30 years
time.
now.
And so he's got a lot of experience. He has done a lot of pro bono work also, which he's very proud of. And I will tell you, as his mother, he is a violinist, and he participates in a community orchestra in Miami, which is really nice too. So he has triplet children. So he's a busy guy, but he never fails his clients. I can just tell you that right now because I've heard from some of them, and they just think that he is the best lawyer to help them because it's nerve-wracking. You can imagine how it is if one of your loved ones isn't here. They're waiting, just like my friend whose family's in Monaco, and he can't get out of Miami because there are no flights. And he's an American citizen. He's also Monaco. He has citizenship there too, but he cannot leave. There's no way. He tried to go to Germany. He tried to go somewhere else, and they're not letting him in.
That's right. Now, interesting enough, our office does a lot of real estate, and we actually we've done 2 real estate closings this month without seeing anybody. It's all been documents by mail, and we did actually notaries by video. You can do notaries by video now. The Supreme Court of Florida has released some technical rules, so people can, as long as they see you on video, they can notarize the documents. It's quite interesting, but that's only going to be until this emergency is over.
Well, that's good that you point out real estate, because I know that a lot of people who are coming here want to buy real estate, and I know that you've been doing this. So if you want someone to handle your real estate closings, whether you're an immigrant or whether you're, a citizen, whatever, Chandler and his office, they do a very good job at that too. So remember, there's a lot of things that you can get done, and I know that you'll be very happy to meet Chandler and his beautiful wife Stefania, who is a just terrific woman, and she is Italian and she speaks Italian. So for those of you who are Italian, you'll love it. But the other thing is they do speak Spanish in his office and other languages. So wherever you're coming from, they'll be able to help you, I believe.
Right. Thank you.
Chandler, it sounds like our music means that we've come to a close. I'm very happy to have you on this morning.
Very nice. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much for taking the time and doing this, and you've given us a lot of good information. Again, call them at 305-374-4400. Thanks, Chandler.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.